Why, hello there. I'm Sin. We are in the Book Nook, and today we are going to do the Bookish Favorites Tag. So, let's get into it. So, the first question is 5 books that define your taste. Okay, so I like to read a lot of horror and fantasy, so I think most of these books are probably going to be just like horror and fantasy. Maybe something else. Let's see. So, first one that comes to mind is Clive Barker's A Magica, just one of my all-time favorite books, and that is a fantasy book. Also, one of my all-time favorite books is Ghoul in the Cape by Josh Malerman. That is my favorite Malerman read. I absolutely love it so much. It is awesome. It was a special release, so I don't know if you can even find it right now or buy it. And I'm hoping one day it comes to mass market because I feel like more people need to read it because it's so freaking good. And that one's a horror, but it's so much more than that. After that, I would have to go with The Stand by Stephen King. I only just read that this year, and I loved it so much. Outside of like the Dark Tower series, I think that's my favorite Stephen King book. That whole good versus evil and whatnot. Love that book. So after that, I'm gonna have to take it back to my childhood. I was a big fan of the Narnia Chronicles, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is my favorite Narnia book, and it's fantasy on the water. They visit all these different islands, and I have loved that book since I was a kid. And then the 5th book, I would say The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I love this book. It is the best book on creativity that I have ever read, hands down. It's so good. I would highly recommend it if you have any inkling, even like a smidge of creativity in your body. Like, just read this book. The concepts, everything about it, amazing. Okay, so question number 2 is books that you've loved in different eras of your life. Okay, so when I was a kid, I loved the Narnia Chronicles. I also liked the Little House on the Prairie books. I was a big fan of Nancy Drew mysteries. Loved Nancy Drew mysteries. And then I also really love the book The Secret Garden. Those are the ones that like immediately pop into my brain. Now, as a teenager, I loved young adult horror. So R.L. Stine, Christopher Pike. I also loved Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. I dabbled in Stephen King as a teen, but got much more into him as I got older because sometimes just those books were so long and I was like, oh, there's so many details, blah. So my teenager brain apparently couldn't handle it all, but adult brain, yes. Let's see, who else did I like as a teenager? Carolyn B. Cooney, Louise Duncan. Those are a few that come into my brain. At this junction in time, I read all over the frickin' map. A lot of horror, a lot of fantasy, nonfiction, speculative fiction, even a little bit of romance. Like, I'm all over the place. I have my horror authors that I really love, like Stephen King and Josh Malerman, Catriona Ward. So yeah, at this point in my life, books I've loved recently have been like The Stand, Ghoul in the Cape by Josh Malerman. It's gonna be like stuff I already like mentioned, I think. What else has been so? Yeah, The Creative Act, all books I've prior mentioned. Those are like the ones that like really jump out in my head that I've loved. So after that, next question is favorite genres. Okay, so I kind of talked about that too. Horror, fantasy, nonfiction, paranormal, nonfiction. Those are my favorite genres. Favorite authors. I feel like a lot of these are going to be me repeating stuff I've already said, which is fine, right? It's all good. Stephen King, Josh Malerman, Catriona Ward, Nat Cassidy, Clay McLeod Chapman. Those are the ones that just pop into my head off the top of my brain. Okay, next is favorite form of reading. For me, it's physical books. That is my fave. Favorite book characters. I am a big fan of animal characters. When I think of recently my most favorite characters, they've all been animals. Oi from The Dark Tower, Cornelius the cat from A Harvest of Hearts, Kojak the dog from The Stand. Like, I love animal characters. Yeah, I like animals more than humans. That is a thing. Therefore, I'm more so drawn to the animal characters in these books. I don't know. So those are some of my faves recently. Favorite series? The Dark Tower series by Stephen King. One of the best fantasy series I've ever read. So freaking good. I loved it. I loved it so much. Okay, series I'm excited to finish. I'm so bad at reading series. I'm in the middle of a few series that I definitely haven't finished. But I guess if I had to choose one, I would have to go with the Witcher series. I am 3 books in. I have 2 more sitting on my shelf that I need to get, and there's a few more So I guess I'd have to go with that one. As for series I'm most excited to start, I have no idea because, as I said, I'm in the middle of several series and I don't want to start another one right now. So I don't have one I'm excited to start because I got to finish the ones that started. All right, next question. Books that I predict will be a favorite. I only have one right now that I can predict that I think is going to be a favorite just because of the prior books. So recently I read a book called The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and that was just a cozy fantasy that was absolutely wonderful. And there is a sequel coming out called The Enchanted Greenhouse. It comes out very soon. I'm super stoked for it, and I'm pretty sure that's also going to be a favorite read. Next question is prettiest books special editions. So I don't have a ton because I mean I read a lot of horror and those don't always have the prettiest of covers, but I do have a couple. The one is The Winter Garden, and I think this cover is absolutely gorgeous. I love the spectral tiger and the blues and just what's going on this cover. I think it's gorgeous. And this other one is gold. This edition of Practical Magic. It is signed by Alice Hoffman somewhere in here. Where's the sign? Right there. Yeah, signature. And yeah, so these two are my most prettiest, I guess. That's all I got. Otherwise, these horror books, they're not known for really being pretty. Unless they're like the special editions or whatever. The next question is what would you go buy right now? I don't know. Anything by Stephen King. Probably I would go buy. Okay, next question is favorite bookish merch and shops. I mean, my favorite bookish merch would probably be my own, if I'm being honest. I mean, bookish things and weird stuff. You too can have a bookish things and weird stuff shirt if you so desire. I will have the link down below to that if you'd like to check it out. But as for a shop, one of my favorite bookstores is this cute little bookstore. It's not exactly close, but I make the drive out that way every once in a while, and it's called Toadvine Books, and it's part new, part used, and it's awesome. They have an amazing horror selection. Absolutely amazing, and I love it. That is my favorite. Okay, next question. Favorite bookish creators. Okay, so most of these are going to be like horror peeps, My favorite bookish creators are the Bookubus, Lydia of Typical Books, Harpies in the Trees, and then I also like Jess Owens and Peruse Project. Those are the ones that pop into my brain. I'm sure there's more, but that was what immediately came into my head. I can't remember them all. If you enjoyed this tag and think you might like to do it, consider yourself tagged. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.